It looks like the top brass at SVB Bank, they were all in on it because they started selling off their shares, well, months in advance. They sold $4.5 million worth of shares, and they basically told you everything's fine. Don't worry about anything, while they sold out from under you. Joe Biden recently said, yeah, don't worry about the economy. Everything's just fine. And it seems like they tell you everything's going to be just fine right before it's not. That's how it usually works. It looks like stablecoin USDC was part of this SVB collapse. They had $3.3 billion of their $40 billion reserves at this bank. USDC was destabilized momentarily. They were depegged from the US dollar. Considering it was $3.3 billion, they were able to restore the peg, but it destabilizes it for a moment, maybe enough to shake your confidence. So keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and take a look at this article. It's about Fed Chair Powell. He was asked about U.S. digital currencies. Here's what he said. He said, well, we're making progress on technological issues in reference to CBDC, which is the U.S. digital currency. Powell stressed that policy issues are equally important. Wow. So if you know Powell, you know that this guy is one of the most subtle and most vague people that you've heard on TV. He has to be, right? He's got insider information. So anytime he says anything, even accidentally slips up, he's given away insider information. So he has to be very careful in the way he speaks. So when he says something like, policy issues are equally as important as making progress on technological issues in reference to digital currencies, he's literally bashing you over the head with a hammer. When it comes to him, he's basically saying there will be a U.S. digital currency. Rest assured of that. There's no question about that. And they've already started testing. They've started a limited test with MasterCard and several other banks. So take a look at this. This is the MasterCard website, and it's on digital currencies. 90% of central banks are engaged in some form of CBDC work. As you consider central bank digital currencies, MasterCard is eager to help you explore, test, deploy, and secure these new currencies. We are committed to working with central banks to support payment in CBDC on our network. Committed to working with central banks. Okay, these aren't just any banks. They're committed to working with central banks to start deploying digital currency. This is the International Monetary Fund. What do they have to say about digital currencies? Let's take a look. So today we aim to test our thinking again. We have moved beyond conceptual discussions of CBDC, and we are now in the phase of experimentation. Central banks are rolling up their sleeves and familiarizing themselves with the bits and bytes of digital money. These are still early days for CBDC, and we don't quite know how far and how fast they will go. What we know is that central banks are building capacity to harness new technologies to be ready for what may lie ahead. Nobody builds new technologies they're not going to use. Okay? If all of these banks are already rolling out their own digital currencies, and the IMF is now preparing for that, which means they're rolling out their technologies and testing. They all are already saying, we're already rolling it out and testing the technology. We see MasterCard. We know several banks are already deployed it, and they're using it live. What does that tell you? Well, digital currency is coming to the planet. There's going to be global digital currencies. The interesting bit, the very interesting bit is this. Remember, this is coming from the IMF. Okay, the head honcho of all of the central banks. They say, if CBDC are designed prudently, they can potentially offer more resilience, more safety, greater availability, and lower cost than private forms of digital money. What does that mean? Private forms of digital money? Oh, is that in reference to the traditional crypto market, which is private? They don't want that. They're trying to crush that. It says so right here. They already demonized it, saying, well, ours is going to be more resilient. It's going to be more safe. So why bother with the private digital currencies when you can go with what we have? That is clearly the case when compared to unbacked crypto assets that are inherently volatile, and even the better managed and regulated stablecoins may not be quite a match against a stable and well-designed central bank digital currency. Now, what is that in reference to? They say that even the better managed and regulated stablecoins, you mean like USDC? This right here, this rhetoric is actually attacking USDC, right? They're saying, well, you know, USDC may not be a match for ours because we're more stable, we're more resilient, and we're more safe. Well, since USDC's been pretty rock solid, what do you have to worry about? Oh, that's right. That's right. They had their reserves, part of their reserves, at this bank, SVB, which just collapsed. Which caused a momentary destabilization. May have shaken your faith in USDC. That makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now, they are, in my opinion, trying to destabilize USDC. They're trying to destroy the competition, which is private crypto, right? You destroy USDC, which is the bedrock of all of that crypto market. People are going to start turning to something else more stable, which they say, ours is more stable. Ours is more resilient. Private digital currencies, we can't track that. We can't control that. So don't mess with that. Come to us, use our digital currency so we can enslave you with it. Listen, there's a reason why banks are collapsing. Traditional banks with paper money. They also want you to lose your faith in paper money, the traditional banking system, because once you cash out and you have cash, paper money in your hands, they lose track of the chain. You can go anywhere, do anything you want with that cash. They don't know what you're doing with it. They don't like that. They don't like not knowing every single thing you do. And that's why once they implement this digital currency, you will not be able to make a single move without them knowing. You won't be able to fart without them knowing, because they're going to see every single transaction, no matter where you go, no matter what network you're on, it won't matter. So that's why they're trying to get rid of cash. Once they get rid of paper money, which I believe is the last bastion of freedom when it comes to privacy, they're going to know every move you make. They can take money out of your account at any time. They can freeze your funds. You don't have control over your own money. You barely do now with paper money in the banks because they can freeze that too. But once you cash out and have that paper in your hands, they're screwed. They can't do anything with that. They can't stop you. They never force anything down your throat. No. They usually create the circumstances and scenarios to make you beg them to implement the things they were going to do in the first place. It's called engineering consent. You need to check it out because the US government are experts in engineering consent. This is how it works. So I may be crazy, maybe just putting pieces together that shouldn't go together, but I'm willing to bet that the next banks that collapse are probably going to have more USDC reserves on their books. Yep, causing further destabilization of USDC and making people lose more faith in the traditional crypto market. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.